Hello. Right. Let's get it started, shall we? If you're there, say hi. We shall begin, Miss Moneypenny. Ba-doom boom. Hey everyone. Give it a few minutes, get everybody in, and then we shall begin. This one's a very important one, I feel. This one that we're doing tonight. This is a make or break for your simulator type of thing. So this one's a real dependent on how your sim will operate, basically, and how many times you're gonna have to reinstall. Hopefully none. Hopefully none. Oop. So, if you're there, say hi. Yep. And we shall begin. So today we're looking at the scenery library. We're looking at the add-ons and the importance of the scenery library. Actually, there was a graphic I wanted up on the screen. Let me go get it. Yeah, there it is. So we have that one and this one. So most of you, I'm guessing, you right, Christian? Most of you, I'm guessing, use Orbex in one form or another. That is like my total guess. Oof. Yeah. So just like Orbex, in the fact that it does matter how, like you can see here, you've got your P3D core at the bottom, right, with the core code of your simulator, and you have your FS Global if you use that, or whatever mesh you do use, you know, that defines the peaks and the mountains and the valleys, and then the texturing of global base or whatever texturing you have. Maybe it's a region, maybe it's true earth, or maybe it's mega scenery, but it's a texture of some kind, and then vector data that goes on telling you where the roads are, the rivers and all that, and then the land class, sort of how everything stitches together. It's like this, it's like a sandwich, you know, it's like a layered lovely BLT, and your scenery library is just the same. And we're going to get into the importance of how it's supposed to be ordered. There is a correct order, and what happens if it doesn't do that, if it's not ordered correctly. Well, I mean, it can crash, basically. It can not load correctly. You'll get glitches, you'll get errors, all that. And then we're also going to talk about XML add-ons, because P3D are now moving in that direction, it seems. With every new release, there's more support for bringing in packages rather than having a scenery library. But it has a massive effect on the way Prepared is run, because like FSX, it's run on a scenery library. And so it's a real half and half, basically, of both at the moment, you know, whereas I believe Christian can correct me if I'm wrong, but X-Plane is a modular system that you put packages in, and you build your world like that. Does it have a scenery library like P3D? I don't know. I don't use X-Plane, so I don't really know. But if you get your scenery library messed up, then bad stuff can happen, basically. So having a good scenery library is the key, really, isn't it? It does have a scenery library. Oh, okay. Right. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, I'm also going to go through how I use my simulator, because I use a bit of both, right? I use both XML add-ons and I use the scenery library. And it's a right dance of the two for me. I mean, I've got things that are not only installed into the simulator itself, which let me bring up my file structure for the simulator. Lockheed Martin. So this is my simulator, and as you can see, there are other files in here other than the core simulator. You know, I've got like Orbex, PMDG, pilots, Captain Sim, you know, Carenado. There's loads of different files. Sim Market, I think. Oh no, that's installed somewhere else. And some of these files have to remain inside the simulator. No two ways around it, you know. But most of them don't. Most of them can actually live outside your simulator. And with Orbex, they finally now caught up with having their stuff outside of the simulator folder, which is something I used to do in version 4. I used this program called Junction Link Magic, and I actually used to use this to symlink their stuff into the simulator folder when it actually wasn't being stored on that drive or in that folder. I have everything like for add-ons stored on the D drive here, which is running out of space by the looks of it. And it's like a 4 terabyte drive, you know, whereas my C drive where the sim sits is only a 1 terabyte SSD drive, so it can't hold everything. Plus Windows is on there and it's doing processes, and then my simulator is there and it's doing processes. So if I had all my scenery as well in there, then it would bottleneck the simulator because everything's loading from the same drive. That drive can only load so much stuff before it starts to go, wait, there's too much information, you know. Even an M2 drive would have a bottleneck with loading things if everything was on your C drive. So I actually found out that the more drives that you have connected to your simulator in terms of add-ons loading in, you actually get like the same amount of performance boost per drive. So I have things loading in from another drive, so it loads twice as fast inside the simulator for me. If I had things like split over 4 or 5 drives, each one of them is feeding information in independently, which means if I had 4 drives, it's going to be 4 times faster, obviously within the limitations of an SSD drive, to load into my simulator. So I have all my add-ons stored here in the P3D folder. All of Orbex is here. All my add-ons are here that are in the scenery library themselves, and all of my XML stuff is here as well, which I've organized and, you know, made nice and neat basically. So I've got aircraft, I've got airports, I've got cities, I've got the libraries like UK 2000's Common Library, Flight Ample Library, all that. I do have limited scenery. This is more or less the photoreal stuff that I've downloaded or created. And then any utilities, which, to be honest, I mean, I don't use Rex 4 Direct anymore, so maybe I need to delete that. But it's all organized and it all feeds into my scenery library eventually. So what is a scenery library for anybody who's like, I don't know what, I'm new to this, right? So let's just bear with for anybody who's watching this even on the repeat and is new to flight simulation. So your whole world is governed in your simulator by this list, as it were, all done in priority, and it's all generated by that. Now, when you first load up your sim, when you first install your sim, everything, as you see, will be ticked and you'll be using it, but it'll all be that default stuff, which is down here at the bottom. As you can see, I untick a lot of stuff that I don't actually use, that I don't fly in. I only tick in my scenery library what I'm actually going to see. So it only loads in the stuff that is active, right? In version 4, even if you untick the box, it still loads it into your sim, but it's invisible. Like, you can't see it, but it still loads it in, right? In version 4, 3, 2, and 1. But in version 5, it literally doesn't, it just ignores it and only loads what you've got active. Same with the add-ons. All these add-ons here load into my sim, which you can see some of them sit at the top. We'll get into XMLs later on. What's the importance of all this? Well, there is a thing called an index that is associated with your scenery library. And that index can be found in program data under scenery, your scenery file. Now, this thing is a very sensitive document. And to be honest, I don't recommend opening it when you're in your simulator, okay? But I'm going to do it now. I'll fix it later if it breaks. But this basically is an index of your simulator. And it's a very important document because this can actually break your simulator if it's messed up. If you're scrolling down and you see like entries missing, like completely blank, or large chunks of areas that are not in sequence, there is something wrong with your scenery library, and it could be a reason why you're getting crashes in your sim. Luckily, we have help with this scenery library. Orbex, Black Marble, John uses the Lorby add-on organizer. Things like that help us keep this and maintain this. Now, the one thing is, if anybody has Orbex in their simulator, it has its own built-in organizer that you can use, and it's a really good one, okay? It will layer everything correctly in terms of these layer numbers, which is crucial for your simulator. Although the way P3D is going, not so much these days as it used to be in FSX. If anything slips off or moves or the layering gets messed up for any reason, it can have really bad side effects. But these organizers are good at making sure everything is nice and neat. Now, Orbex has one, and it'll happen whether you like it or not, to be honest. If you use Orbex 4, it will layer your scenery index for you, okay? As soon as you click on insertion point in the settings, it instantly layers your scenery index. If you use an external one, like the Lorby add-on organizer, you now have got two different entities going into your scenery index and rearranging things. So you'll obviously sit there and play with it and go, I want it in this order. But then as soon as you open that Orbex app up, it's going to do the same as well. Like, I suppose there's a way around it by don't going to click insertion point in Orbex. But in all fairness, I use the Orbex app to layer my scenery, and I've never had an issue with it. I've never used that Lorby add-on organizer or any other one. There's one as well that you can get called Scenery. Some developer referred it to me. It's an old one, but it still works. It's called Scenery Config Editor. And you can actually change the layering of XMLs with this. But I think it's one that developers use, to be honest. I haven't actually tried it. I'm happy with Orbex, to be honest. Anyway, getting away from it. The whole idea of this layering system, like I said before, is crucial in the way your simulator loads. You know, your simulator will not load correctly if the layering is broken or out of whack, and you'll see weird glitches when you go flying. If it does load, you'll see like night lighting in your scenery, or black squares, or scenery that shouldn't be there but is, or default poking through. It's like you'll see a lot of weirdness, and it could be the cause of a lot of crashes in your sim as well. So, is an airport a scenery or an add-on? Good point, Christian. Good point. I'll answer that in a second, because I'm working my way up there. I'm working my way there. Okay. So yeah, getting the layering is absolutely crucial. Now, there is actually a certain way your scenery library should be layered, and it goes like this. All the default scenery is at the very bottom of your sim, okay? Because it's ordered, or it's thrown into your sim in order of priority, just like it says here, priority. So my priority in my sim is my night lighting by Black Marble. That's the very first thing. should be this thing, Sim Elite Solutions Time Zone Fixer, but it keeps on moving down even though I move it back up, to be honest. But it still works regardless. So that's the first priority. Then all they get me at, XML add-ons. But the first like scenery item that's actually going to load into my sim is so far right now British Isles night environment. I was doing a flight before in the UK, so. And then after that, the next thing that's going to load in is all the way down here with the Orbex libraries, and then even further down like global base, and then the FS global, and then that's it. Then the scenery base, and that's it basically. So your default stuff should be at the bottom. And if you do use global vector, that, or the exclusions list, that will be above your default scenery. Again, this is all done in priority, so what's important will load at the top, and what's not important will load at the bottom. And if you think of it like Swiss cheese, if you were to put multiple layers of Swiss cheese down, and then look down at it, you probably wouldn't see anything because everything covers everything else. And that's exactly the way this thing works. It layers everything in, and eventually when you look down in your sim, everything looks fine in a working scenery library. So the next thing moving up is your default scenery, your Orbex global vector, and then any mesh that you have. So my mesh after the default scenery here is right here. I use FS Global Ultimate, the latest one, and I highly recommend this. If you have elevation issues, if you have problems with scenery, like buildings maybe are misaligned, I mean, this stuff may not fix everything, but it really does go far, and it makes your sim look amazing. Your mountains, man, you could cut your fingers on how sharp they are. Okay, it really does enhance. Now, if you have the previous version of this, unfortunately, it doesn't work with version 5.1. You do need to upgrade, but it is totally worth the upgrade. You even get a discount for upgrading, but it's totally worth it. It's one of the must-haves in the simulator, and that sits if you think of like your default stuff at the bottom, then your mesh is the second layer, then you've got your like land class stuff, and then the regions, and then the airports, and then sitting on top of all your Orbex stuff, like it shows here, is your third-party stuff. Right now, I don't maneuver the layering of anything in my sim. Once I put like this third-party stuff in, and then I sit it down, I go into Orbex and it arranges everything for me, and I don't have to touch it, and it just works. I mean, I highly recommend just using one organizer rather than 2 or 3, because there's less conflicts, and it works with Orbex. So I do have a few sceneries here that are loaded into the sim. I mean, to be honest, a lot of these I haven't even tested yet. They're from version 4, or they're from FSX. So I need to test them before I even fly with them. But this is the correct order that everything should be sitting in within your library. If it's not sat in this way, then you probably most likely will have an issue loading your sim up successfully. So now, another crucial thing with your scenery index is if you are a Black Marble user, okay, it also has a built-in tool specifically for your scenery index. Not just the organization of priority within your scenery library, but the layering system within your actual scenery library itself. So as you can see, all of these are given layering numbers. Now, back in the days of FSX, this was crucial because add-ons would use these numbers in displaying, like, okay, so I know where you're sitting and I know where I'm sitting, and we're all sitting in a layer so we can all work together. And a lot of add-ons would actually use this layering system to help itself work within your sim. P3D seemed to be moving away from this layering system by allowing XML add-ons to be used, which people who use the scenery library route aren't perhaps a big massive fan of. I know a developer who would honestly beat me up to hear me say that I actually I like the XML route, you know, because I think if you use it correctly, it can save you a whole heap of uninstalling and reinstalling, and it can make your life a lot easier for testing as well, you know. Or if you want to fly an airport but you're not too sure if it's gonna work in your sim, you can pop it in. If it doesn't work, you can take it out and your sim continues. Whereas if you put it into your scenery library and it's layered in down here somewhere and it don't work, you've then got to delete the area, uninstall the add-on, and it's a bit more of a painful thing. But in all honesty, P3D version 5 does an amazing job, by the way. Every time you load up your sim, it rewrites the index, right? Based on what choices you've made within this scenery library. P3D4 didn't used to do that, but number 5, honestly, on the fly, will change itself to suit your library, whereas previous simulators, it all had to be like the same, and then if you added something else new, you would have to use something else like Orbex vector elevation exclusion tool in order. Honestly, it was a lot more a painful experience. Like using the scenery library right now is so easy in version 5 and 5.1, but if you have anything wrong with your simulator in terms of things aren't displaying correctly, it's going to be most likely found in either your scenery library here or your scenery CFG file. And seriously, just scrolling through and looking at like these numbers and going, right, where are half of these? Like they're skipping so much and there's blanks, and it's like you'll see here, like if you look at this list on the right hand side here, there's like no gaps at all. It just goes down the list, right? But if you look at yours and there's bits missing or the numbering is completely off, then that's where it's going to come into trouble. Now, like I said before, if you have gaps, there will be issues, but this is the brilliance of Black Marble. You'll notice my numbers go 1, 2, and then it skips to 24, right? If I use the Orbex layering index, you know, the insertion tool, it will rewrite this and it will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, it will renumber it actually differently. When Black Marble does it, it actually allows for your XMLs that you've got installed. So I mean, it allows me to install like up to 19, by the looks of it, XMLs at any one time, and it allows for that in the actual layering of the CFG file. Whereas if Orbex layers this, it doesn't allow for any things, and then when I pop an add-on in, it has to rewrite the index again. I mean, it's going to rewrite itself anyway, but what I'm trying to say is Black Marble actually allow for that, and I really much prefer the Black Marble sort of scenery index thing over the Orbex one. But in answer to your question, Christian, an airport is both a add-on and a scenery, okay, depending on how they've developed that airport. Okay, so I have a lot of airports in my directory of XMLs, which are here, like Flight Tampa, FS Dream Team, quite a lot, and a lot of these are from FSX. Some of them are from version 4 that I have yet to still update to version 5, and most of them are for version 5, but they're all XMLs, right? And anything can be an XML as long as in your scenery library it's going to sit at the top of your library. So that means airports, that means mega scenery mapping, that means some scenery items that don't need to be layered all the way down here, unlike Orbex do, to be honest, is okay. But the reason Orbex gets away with it is because they already reserve the layering within the scenery library for each particular item, and it doesn't move. That's why they're locked off. That's why they're grayed out, because Orbex have gone, I'm reserving this space for Scotland, and no one's going to be able to take this layer of your scenery library because Scotland will sit there. We're locking it off. So anything that tries to install itself, Orbex will reshuffle it and go, right, you sit here, you sit there. XMLs usually sit on the top. So an airport can both be an add-on and it can be put into the scenery library as long as it doesn't include extensive scenery surrounding that airport. If it has extensive scenery, then really you want to be putting it in your scenery library. So I've got US cities, Los Angeles here as an actual in the scenery library. I've got a lot of Bahamas stuff because they cover a lot of ground in the scenery library. Hawaii isn't an add-on XML. It's in the scenery library because it has expansive land around the airports. Anything like an airport can sit at the top of your scenery library, so therefore can be a XML. Even aircraft can be XML'd, and I XML every aircraft I can, because the more aircraft you load into your sim, the slower it takes to load, right? I found this out in version 4. When you first start up your, first time you install your P3D installation, right? It loads super fast, and you're like, wow, man, that's fast. And then slowly, after a while, it begins to slow down a little bit and go, mate, you were a lot faster when you were first installed. And it's down to directly how many aircraft do you have in your scenery library. Now, I go as far as deleting the liveries that I don't use and only keeping what I am actually going to fly in here. I don't favorite things anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore. I do use this search option, but I've only got 406 vehicles loaded into my simulator, and I consider that a lot. You'll probably have a lot more planes loaded into your simulator. Some people have 1,000, but the more vehicles you load in, the slower it loads up. So Lorby scenery exporter followed by make runways allows ARC data update and priority C. So all add-on scenery airport gates and parking are accurate. That's correct, John. Thanks for telling us. You're absolutely right, mate. I'm glad you're doing this Q&A. I can't get Scraper in South working with P3D version 5.1. You have Vector and you have Europlan class working, but the minute I install the South... Okay. One thing with Orbex products, right? And listen up, guys, because this is important, right? I was speaking with one of the Orbex developers at Cosford, okay? And I was asking him all sorts of questions. And I'm sure he was just thinking, dude, why don't you fuck off, mate, and stop asking all these questions, right? And I found out an interesting fact that wasn't common knowledge, right? And I tell everybody I can about this, okay? Because it saves so much performance in your sim, okay? Trueworth and the regions, like say for instance Scotland, Wales, Norway, California, whatever, right? Any region or any Trueworth product, right, is a self-contained little package on its own, okay? So inside that self-contained package, it has global base included, it has the mesh included, it has land class and vector included, as well as whatever airport or whatever it's going to contain within the package. So for instance, my Iceland demo here, which to be honest, I haven't updated for version 5. It's updated itself for version 5, but they don't longer do this anymore on the store. So I'm confused as to why I still have it. But anyway, this contains everything within its little package here of Iceland, just like Wales does. It contains the vector, it contains the land class, it contains the mesh and everything. So if you load up a Trueworth item, you can actually untick vector, you can actually untick land class and untick global base, and you will load only one instance of that scenery in. If you don't untick global base, vector, and land class, you're loading in twice the scenery, okay? both your true earth or your region will load, as well as those separate vector, land class, and global bases. So if you use a Orbex product, so every time I fly, I mean, I don't use England, every time I fly Norway, I go in my scenery library and I actually untick global base, okay, unless I'm flying outside of Norway. I untick where is it? I untick the land class from within here because it's included in Norway. I don't actually use Orbex Vector anymore. I've abandoned it because it's shit. I use the Black Marble Vector, which is a 100% accurate to real life vector information. The Orbex one, you only get like half the data, and it takes a massive performance hit with everything it throws in. The only thing Black Marble puts in is like the vector information that the real world contains. It doesn't throw in eye candy stuff, you know. It just puts in what it needs to put in, and it actually performs better. Like, I get a performance boost for using Black Marble Vector, which is better, as opposed to the Orbex Vector, which, to be honest, I mean, they weren't even originally putting it in 5.0 because 5.0's default was even better. So I kind of feel that they've put in Orbex Vector now just so somebody can be complete. You're right, Phil. And it doesn't actually enhance the sim. I actually think it de-enhances the sim by using it. But I could be wrong, you know. What was this? So aircrafts are also in the scenery library. Oh, of course not, Christian. Aircrafts you'll never find in your scenery library because it's just scenery items. Like if we go up to the top here, like you'll never see an aircraft appear as an XML here. It will load in here. I don't have any aircraft XML loaded at the moment in here, but this is where the XML aircraft will load. It won't show up in your scenery library because it's not a scenery, it's an aircraft. I have them on a separate drive, so they are grayed out. I can't uncheck them. That's right. That's right, Mark, and you won't be able to for good reason. You don't need to worry about that. If they're grayed out, okay, they're inactive, right? Unless they've got a tick in it. If they're grayed out and inactive, it means you can't move it, right? If it's ticked, it's in your sim. If it's unticked, it's not in your sim, and it's not even being looked at, to be honest. But it's got a reservation slot, right, for dinner for two, in your scenery index. And Orbex do that, and I'm so glad they do that now. I'm so glad they offer that, because as I say, I used to have like, I'm so glad you can keep your Orbex things off on another drive now, because it saves me having to symlink them in, because I store everything on a separate drive, and now I don't have to symlink things in. I'm glad they've kind of caught up on that one, and I'm glad they offer the XML route, because I prefer XML for a lot of things. So I'll quickly show you like the XML stuff now. I do prefer it, but not for scenery items. I mean, I can't prefer it for scenery items because my sim wouldn't work if I did. But if you do try an XML scenery items, then you have to do it like Orbex. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to reserve the slot in your index. Otherwise, it'll nuke your sim completely. You have to know how to write one, you know. To be honest, it's easier than you think. It's the hardest thing is knowing the encoding of the actual file itself, okay, which is UTF-8, right? That's the hardest thing to find out if you don't know it, because that thing could actually kill your sim if you get that wrong, right? And Black Marble people will know this because we've had an actual experience of it, because Orbex, again, I always go back to Orbex, and I'm not attacking them at all, but they do so much stuff, so that's probably why I'm always mentioning them. So I'll quickly tell you this little story, right? There's this rivalry between Orbex and Black Marble, for starters, okay? If anybody isn't aware. The rivalry is basically because Black Marble is better and Orbex are bigger, right? And that's basically it. And neither of them will admit it, but I clearly, as an outsider, can see this rivalry, and you can see it in forums as well. If you go in Orbex forums and start mentioning Black Marble, they soon kick off, right? And I'm sorry if there's any developers from Orbex watching here. I'm not having a go at all, you know. But the night lighting system that Orbex have in their global base and in their regions is actually from the developer of Black Marble, okay? Like years and years ago, he created this series of night lighting and he gave it away for free on a website that doesn't exist anymore. And the developers at Black Marble had that night lighting system and they've enhanced it from within their own company, but it's from Black Marble basically. I don't think the developer... Hang on, what's this? I got a couple of apples in my pocket here. What's that all about? I don't think the developer of Black Marble really is that bothered that they're using it, but the fact that they don't admit it, that's probably why that he pisses him off. They don't acknowledge where they get it, right? Anyway, I'm gonna do something, by the way, guys, you should never ever do, which is load up Orbex with your simulator loaded. Never do that. It will nuke your sim, okay? I'll fix my sim later though. But when you do one thing in your Orbex Central, okay, it can actually destroy your Black Marble products, okay? And specifically the Black Marble products, not like any other developer's stuff, but specifically the Black Marble products. I've told the developers at Orbex this, and they said, oh yeah, we'll fix it. Now, if they have or not, I don't actually know, because Black Marble put a fix in themselves. But if you go to your thingy here, and you go to the help, if you ever sync your simulator and you have Black Marble products installed, it will destroy your Black Marble from working within P3D, right? The reason is, boy, how many files have I got open here? Where is it? I'm fucking find it now. The reason is because, is this the right pro? Yeah, this is the right one. Is this file here, right? Terrain.cfg, right? Every time you sync your simulator with Orbex, right? It completely nukes this file, right? Because the Orbex app changes the encoding of that file after they finished syncing your sim, right? Chris Bell install instructions say only deactivate Orbex lights, not vector. Yeah, that's right. You should only... John, I've got my suspicions about you, mate. I think I know who you are. Right. So, what was I saying? Right, yeah. It changes the encoding system of this file, right? And Orbex say they didn't know about this, right? But the reason why it changes the encoding system of this file is because P3D used to be like that. FSX is like that. But they changed it, right? They changed it to a completely different encoding, and it was the encoding that I mentioned before. The this here, the encoding, the UTF-8. For some reason, Orbex changes what Lockheed Martin have already set in stone to something else, and every time you look into this after running Sync Simulator, it will completely nuke this file, and it will not allow Black Marble to run properly. You have to reinstall your whole simulator to get everything running fine again. Luckily, Black Marble came to the rescue and actually, within their own manager, put a fix this crap that they're doing button that you can tick. So once you do sync your simulator, you have to go over to Black Marble, tick that button. It will change the encoding back to the way it should be, and your sim will work just fine. And anyway, I don't really get the reason why there is a rivalry or whatever, but if you just did, like, go into Orbex forums and say, oh, we're having a problem with Black Marble, and suddenly it'll be like, here we go again. Or, you know, just they'll start having a go. Honestly, it's weird. Which button is it? I don't know if it'll load because my sim's loaded. It might tell me off for trying to do this. It's this here, refresh terrain CFG encoding. Okay. in your Black Marble NG control panel, right? You just tick refresh terrain CFG, click apply, and it will fix it, right? Now, we're going to do a Black Marble special tomorrow, guys, and I'm going to show you everything. But I'm just going to say this right now. Black Marble include within their control panel this rebuild index and this flush DirectX cache. And I make it a matter of habit, right, that every time I readjust this scenery library, which means every time I add a XML add-on into my sim or I install new scenery, that I literally go in and I flush the DirectX cache and I rebuild the index and I click apply. And that prevents, when I load into my sim, things from hovering in the air, blue water everywhere, crashes. Honestly, this Black Marble control panel is a godsend. And I don't know if people realize the power that this actually gives you. If anything goes wrong with my simulator, I come here and I flush the cache, I rebuild the index, and it works again. Okay? It's better. That and the Orbex insertion point is better than any Lorbex thing or any other thing that you need. Seriously, it's the panel of all panels. Mate, anyway, we're going to get into Black Marble tomorrow, and I'm going to show you the power of actually Black Marble truly, because honestly, it's, do you know what? Let's load into the sim now, and let's just have a look at a nighttime. You know, let's just do this, man. Sneak preview, guys. All right. So we'll reset the time. I need to put, I'm not going to put the weather in because you won't see what I'm talking about. So there's no point. If I put real weather in, it's Birmingham I live in, everything will be fucked. Like, you won't see anything. So, right. So here's a chance, guys, while this loads, if you've got any questions, please, if you've got any questions about 5.1 or your scenery library or add-ons with XML, which I'm going to get into in a little bit more detail in a minute, please ask right now. You know, you're looking at Black Marble now. What's the difference between black and blue? I'm very new to P3D, hence the dumb questions. Mark, no question is ever dumb, okay? Don't worry about it, right? So, Black Marble, Blue Marble, right? Blue Marble only works when you're in a commercial airliner, okay? You won't see any difference when you're down on the ground, okay? Basically, what it does is when you're up high and you look out to the distance, to the horizon, right? You see, like, a different shade of blue or green, basically. It's like it colors your land out to the horizon. It's hard to explain, but it uses NASA data to give you accurate all year round hue, basically. Yeah, a hue, basically. That's exactly what it is. It gives a natural, realistic hue to your landscape when you're flying at like 40,000 feet. It doesn't really work when you're down on the ground. You won't see the difference. But when you're up in a commercial airliner, you will see the difference between blue and non-blue. It's day and night. And also, within Active Sky, you also get the overlay of Blue Marble as well, right? Which is, you can actually see like an actual world. I'm gonna have to load it up to show you. This is probably gonna nuke me sim as well. But you actually see this here. This is because of Blue Marble. I think the default of this is something completely different. So I think that's the default. Well, that ain't. That's just black. What happened there? Yeah, what the hell? That's not real, is it? What is that? I think, is that? Oh, I don't know. One of these is the default, isn't it? I don't know which one it is. I think that's the default you get with Active Sky. But with Blue Marble, you get this, which is much better. I much prefer this. Anyway, this is what you kind of get. It is hard to explain, and I've even asked Chris myself, and I haven't really had a clear answer. That's like easy to understand. Okay. I love your chat and followed your Black Marble tutorial. All is good. All right, cheers, John. Thank you. What was the question? I've forgotten now. What the difference between black and blue? But Black Marble, okay, Black Marble is your basic night lighting, and it covers the entire land. There we go. It covers the entire globe, sorry, of night lighting, but it's your basic night lighting. It kind of looks similar to Orbex night lighting, right? In the way it looks, and that's obvious because, you know, he made that basically, you know. Another side fact as well, does everybody remember in version 4, and I think it was 4.3 or 4.4, I think it was 4.4, when the night lighting just suddenly increased and got way much better? Does anybody remember that in P3D version 4? We had a hotfix or an update, and suddenly the night lighting was amazing. Does everybody remember that? Basically, Lockheed Martin partnered with Chris Bell, and he injected the night lighting into that update. And he worked with them on version 4. Sadly, they didn't continue that support for the night lighting into version 5. So you didn't get that amazing night lighting from version 4.4 or whatever it was into version 5. And that was a bit, he was a bit peeved by that because he wanted that to continue, but they didn't for whatever reason. They probably thought, we've got what we wanted, we'll just take it from here, mate. But to be honest, they didn't, because the default night lighting looks like a pizza. Honestly, it looks like a monstrosity. The default night lighting in P3D is an abomination of flight simulation. Honestly, you need to replace it as soon as possible. And Black Marble is the best night lighting you're ever going to see, and I'm going to show you right now what I mean. I swear by it, honestly, I swear by it. The more products you can have of Black Marble, the better your sim will look. And if you're fortunate enough to get extended lights, you're going to get a better performance as well out of your sim. It's crazy, but it's true. It's the way they work their lights. You get better, you get like 10 frames better by using extended lights. Seriously. Anyway, this isn't the Black Marble showcase. This is the scenery library and the add-ons show list. Show list, what? I better close that down. Oh no, that's the XML, right? So, yeah, so Black Marble, but the thing is with Black Marble is that it's a tiered product. You have your base, and then you have these individual components that you can upgrade whenever you wish to. Vector, if you don't, I mean, you can use Orbex Vector with Black Marble base, like you said. It is fine to do that. I personally don't, and I use Black Marble Vector. I find that it looks better and it performs better. And performance for me is everything, you know. It's got to be smooth for me flying. I can't fly a slideshow, you know what I mean? I better turn this down, bloody hell. Right. So why do I use XMLs, and what is a bloody XML? Okay. An XML, and actually, another side note, by the way, Chris Bell was on the team, I think there was about 5 of them at the time, who actually developed the XML, whatever you want to call it, product. Okay. I think he also helped, or he was part of the HTML as well. But he told me, yeah, he was on the team that helped create the XML language. That's the word I'm looking for. In the you know, in whatever it is, you know, you got a 1080 Ti like you, and I own every BM product, but the sim on 1080. Ooh, I need you to set it. Phil, mate, if you jump in my Discord. Like, I mean, are you from the UK, Philip? Are you a UKer like me, mate? Where is Blue Marble stored? Good question, John. Nobody knows, mate. It's a mystery. No, I know where it is. It's in your program startup data. What am I looking for? Hang on. The best way to find it, actually, is this. Get the Marble control panel and go to properties, and you'll see here, where is it? Well, it's not that one. Open file location. Oh, it is here, yeah. Program data. This isn't. It used to be in the startup menu, to be honest. I don't think this is it here. But Blue Marble, yeah, it's not here. It's in the startup menu. I don't even know how to access that, to be honest. It must be. Was it users? Maybe, I don't know. It's hidden, basically. It's hidden so you can't mess with it, is what it is. The manual is stored as well in the same location as the control panels. Here it is. Found it. Bloody hell. That was crazy. Right, so it's I don't even know. I don't even know what the root is. Program data, Microsoft, Windows, start menu, programs, and then there you go. But yeah, I mean, there's no. I guess there's no files or anything. I think Blue Marble exists as a configuration in CFG files. I mean, I to be honest, it's mythical magic, mate. You're from Yorkshire, okay? No worries, Phil. If you're, I mean, we're all on lockdown, so unless you're, you still work, I don't know. Like, I'm happy to meet up in Discord and we can chat it out. And we can go through it one-to-one. I'll share my screen, you share your screen, and I can actually walk you through everything, mate. Because I'll help you set it up properly. I'll help you if you've got the similar PC build to me. Then I mean, you'll be able to use my settings, and I'm happy to help you out. I'm free. I'm only actually free up until noon. So from whatever time in the morning you get up till noon, that's when I'm free. Let me know what time's good for you, and we'll hook up. What was I saying? Black Marble. That was it. That's tomorrow. Black Marble's tomorrow. XML, man. We've got to get around to talking to XML tonight. That's what this whole thing's about. Okay, so what is an XML? An XML is a shortcut, basically. It's like a symlink, but it's a shortcut to a location on your PC. It's basically just like a communication file. It's a single document like this. It can be written in a notepad, and it's full instructions on where to find and compile items. All right, it's just a communication data link, basically. That's all it is. And the simulation uses it. I need to hang on. Do you know what? I need to get rid of all these. Got too many files open. Let me close all these down, and then I'll open up what I need to open up, which is these two. Right. So an XML, in point of Birmingham, this is the Birmingham XML, and it basically points the airport to its destination, which is also on my drive. Down here somewhere. I can't remember where, but it's down here somewhere. Here it is. Birmingham. That's the directory. That's not the right one. Airports, I should have gone in. Down here, Birmingham. And then this is everything. So everything that is needed to load in the sim for Birmingham is contained within this one XML file here. Okay? And it's easier and faster and quicker to load that small little document than a big fat scenery. Although, not for the scenery library, to be fair. You're working this week, back home next week. That would be great. Remember Ian, an aircraft engineer? We talked a while ago. Ian, the aircraft engineer. I do think... I think so, yeah. I think so. Where are we? This is Birmingham. I wait for it to load. Don't touch anything. Wait for it to load properly. This might be a little bit stuttery as well because I'm streaming from the same thing. I did disable default jetways. Whatever, mate. Anyway. You're not Ian. Oh, I am, sorry, an aircraft engineer. Okay. I was going to say, your name's Philip, not Ian. What the fuck? No, sorry, I don't remember specifically, but I bet you any money, mate, as soon as I do start chatting to you, I will remember. I do remember talking to a, it must have been a brief conversation we had, mate. But I do remember talking to an aircraft engineer. Because I was asking, like, questions like, oh, that's a cool job. Which isn't a question, but I was still saying that. Anyway. Let's just have a look here, what we're dealing with. I mean, if you want, I'll take off, and you can actually see. And it'll probably be quicker than me doing this, to be honest, because this is going bloody slow. It was about a month ago, yeah. I think I do remember, mate. I do remember. So, I mean, that's the... You can't really see, to be honest. I need to take off, don't I? I mean, yeah, you can't really tell. So, let's just take off. I'll quickly show this, and then we'll talk about XMLs. So an XML is a communication file, and it links basically where you've got things stored to the sim. And the great thing about an XML file is they're tiny, so you can just drag and drop them, and they don't take up much room on your C drive. Hey, what's going on here, mate? It's all... Oh, I know what's happened. I've just reinstalled something. By the way, the reason of these massive stutters is because I've literally just reinstalled for something, so, and plus I'm streaming from the same PC, so you'll have to forgive that. It doesn't usually do this. Let me just go up to a bit of a height here. Wait till we get up. Wait till we get to 10,000 feet, mate. You alright, Nathaniel? How's it going, mate? Just having a quick sneaky preview at Black Marble. Tomorrow we're doing a whole special on this. Right. So there's the night lighting that you get with Black Marble. You have to wait for the slideshow to finish. Sorry about my flying, by the way. I'm not exactly one-handed on the wheel, like, you know what I mean? My Black Marble scenery files ended up at the top of the scenery. Yes, that's correct. That's where they should sit. Your Black Marble should sit at the very top of your scenery. Otherwise, it won't show properly. And if it doesn't look like this in the UK, then something's gone wrong. That's the way it should look. Okay? That's Black Marble in the UK. Just ignore the stutters. I know what that is. If I loaded my sim again, they wouldn't be here. I do testing a lot on my PC and my sim, so I have to keep reinstalling stuff. And I literally just reinstalled it before this live thing. So that's what that looks like, okay? Shut that down. Right. So an XML add-on, right? The one thing you can't XML is large sceneries, okay? So I mean, you can XML them, sorry, because you can XML anything, but it has to be done very particular, like Orbex do, you know. But aircraft and airports are super easy to XML, right? You only need the core basic structure and then literally it's copy and paste like for future ones. So let me find one that is a very good generic to show. I think it's one of the fly tampers, to be honest. So yeah, I mean this there's a few spaces in this, but when fly tamper when P3D version 5 was updated, like this is for version 4, I think. Like my fly tamper, I don't think I've ever upgraded the things. Like I'm still using version 4 fly tamper stuff here. I never got around to it because I've never needed to. It still works like it did in version 4. I don't think I've ever gone back and updated my fly tamper stuff. You know, you should always end scenario to make sure P3D closes correctly. Did I not end scenario? Oh, sorry, mate. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's what you should do. I thought I did do that, but if you saw me not do it, my bad. But yeah, you should always end scenario and then exit. Sorry. What was I saying? Yeah. So it's honestly, it's really simple with the XML. Like, what does anybody want to know about XMLs? Like, I could do a whole night talk on this, right? Do you know what I mean? I did do it. Oh, okay. Well, I could do a whole night's talk on add-on XML. I could even like show you how you build one and create one, but it's like, man, we ain't got that much time. It's like, is there anything anybody wants to know about an add-on XML? If you install an airport with the installer and you install it into the D, okay, then just create an XML. Okay, so I'm going to show you one of my secrets, guys. I have a dummy program files here, and it has a dummy Lockheed Martin P3D version 5 installation. Okay. So let's say if I'm installing something, like for instance, an airport, you know, I install it to this location first, unless it already supports XML. Okay. If it supports XML, and I know this, then I just get it to install it into here, airports, straight away. And all of the UK 2000 ones are supported. All of the SimWings ones are supported. All of the Fly Tampa ones are supported, and they just get installed straight into here. I don't have to do anything. And then what will happen is you'll see your XML file pop up here. And I take that XML file and I actually drop it in my XML directory. So I have all my XMLs in one location here. And I rename it so I know what's what, you know. And the renaming is in preference to here: 1 aircraft, 2 airports, 3 scenery cities, yada yada yada. If it isn't supported and I have to install it to the other location, which I've closed that down for some reason, then basically I let it install, I let it do what it's got to do to install, and then I extract the files out and put them in to the airports directory. Then, like you've just said, Phil, I write the XML document, which basically points to that path. It says here path, and that's the crucial bit there. That tells my sim where to find the airport, and it also says how to layer it into my simulator as well. But you won't have to worry about layering, because any airport that you specifically XML or any aircraft will just sit on top, or aircrafts don't, but you know what I mean. So it's there is something here you can use. There's like a template basically. In fact, I'm going to put this template in my Discord. Basically, this covers almost every airport sort of eventuality. It's actually written for aircraft, but you can use it for scenery if you ignore gauges, sound, and turn sim objects into scenery. This is, in fact, I think I've got a scenery one as well, actually. Hang on. Yeah, here's the scenery one. I'll put both of these in, okay? It basically tells you what you need to do, okay? Obviously, you'll delete that part there, you know. You put your path to the folder that it's going in here. And through trial and error, you'll just learn how. In fact, I've done a video on how to do this, so I don't really want to repeat myself here. I'd probably say go watch that video. It tells you how to... I mean, I actually do XML and aircraft right there and then. But the aircraft are a lot easier to XML because they're just simple files like that. And you literally, all you're doing is matching in this here. You got sim objects, okay, sim objects, effects, sound, gauges, okay, and that's it. And then when you want to run your sim and you want to run a certain XML, for instance, I want to pop in, let's see, the Concorde. I just drag from the directory folder. Directory. I scroll down. I go, there's the Concorde. I drop it in like that. Now it's in my sim. If I load and this doesn't load correctly, all I have to do is delete. And it's now no longer in my sim. So literally drag and drop. Let's load up the sim and I'll show you that it's in there. Unless there's a problem with it and then it will crash the sim. To be honest, I'm half expecting the sim to crash anyway. But that's how I work my simulator. I do half of XML and half of the scenery library itself. And if I ever have to do an uninstallation, well, to be honest, I've never really done an uninstallation of everything because none of these folders are touched by the sim, you know, unless I put it into the sim. And none of these folders really are touched by the sim until they're in the scenery library. But even if I uninstalled P3D, it wouldn't touch any of these. And in fact, now the way P3D works, which is amazing, if you uninstall P3D, it won't touch anything in your simulator folder that you've added since installing P3D. It just uninstalls P3D and that is it. It leaves everything else behind. I've actually uninstalled and reinstalled P3D version 5.1 about 7 times since it came out. And I've never had to reinstall any of my add-ons that are in my sim or in my sim folder. It saves a whole lot of trouble, I believe, with XML. Does anybody have any issues with the scenery library? Or with their add-ons at all, like in version 5.1 specifically. Still the airports. Oh God. Now, the thing is, with my simulator, it does take a little bit longer to load because I use XMLs and because I use some Black Marble products. There is a slight increase in load times. I ain't bothered about the increase of loading up my simulator or loading into my simulator. I'm bothered about the performance I get once I'm in my simulator. Like, I don't want performance to be bad or anything like that. At the moment, only elevation problems with Flight Tampa Amsterdam. I don't have any elevation problems. Is there? I think so. In fact, I went to. You're right, Ben. I went to Flight Tampa the other day in Amsterdam, and it was fine. There is an elevation fix for Flight Tampa Amsterdam. If you go onto the Orbix website and search Flight Tampa Amsterdam, they put a exclusion file in, which, in all honesty, I don't even know if it's still in my simulator, to be honest. But think I might even still have it. Hang on. Let me check my every little fix and every little glitch. I always save the file. Oh, hang on. No, I put it into the flight tamper. I put it into the flight tamper itself. Where's flight tamper? Flight tamper, where are you hiding? There you are. Amsterdam. Oh, it's not on this drive. It's on my it's on my other drive. Yeah, there's like a little exclusion file. I can't show you because my drive ain't connected, but I've got a flight sim drive with all my add-ons on there. And that's where it is. So I can't show you the file, but if you go, it's from Orbex basically. And I think also for Las Vegas, there's one for FS Dream Team versus Aerosoft, the people who made Fly Tampa, sorry. And the FS Dream Team. If you use the FS Dream Team Las Vegas airport with the Fly Tampa scenery, which includes an airport, then there's a conflict with elevation as well, and you need to also go to I think it's FS Dream Team who have the exclusion file. I can't remember, but I don't use FS Dream Team's Las Vegas anymore. I don't like putting in things that conflict with each other. I'd rather just not use one or the other. Do you know what I mean? It's the less problems in the simulator, I always feel, are better, you know? Can you segregate out default aircraft using XML? Yeah, well, you can just delete it out, mate. So I'll tell you what I do with my default aircraft is I retexture them all, to be honest. Because who wants to see bloody world travel in their sim? So let's take the commercial airliner for instance here. These files aren't the same as yours, okay? So in my commercial airliner, I've got where is it? Aer Lingus here instead of like world travel. I've got Thomas Cook instead of Orbit. I can't remember what the others are called, but American Airlines. And these are the default textures. These aren't AI Traffic, British Airways. These are the default textures. All I do is I just reskin them basically. But if you wanted to take out, so let's just say for instance, it's like, man, I don't need 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it says texture 5, but as you can see, I've already removed texture 1 and 3. So all you'd have to do is go into this. Let's say, for instance, you don't want world travel. If you delete off that section and renumber it so it all says like 1, 2, 3, you know, whatever. I only have 3 in my sim. Hang on, why have I only got 3 actually? Should have 4. Texture 0, texture 5, texture 4. Oh yeah, there is 4, sorry. Yeah. Well, no, to be honest, I do use AI at the same time, but I don't use a packaged AI because that just tears down my frames. So the one I use is called actually I don't know what it's called. AIF P3, right? Basically, it's an older version of the AIG one. It's an older version, but this one, you basically build a flight plan using the planes that are in your sim, so PMDG, Quality Wings, and you have to build the flight plan schedule yourself. So you can define exactly what you see in your sim. So if you want to see just retro jets flying around, you can do that. And you have to do it for every single airport, for every single airline. But once you do, it creates a BGL file, and all you have to do is between the two airports that you're flying, drop in the BGL files, so it creates AI traffic, and you go flying and you'll see AI traffic within your sim. Now, if you use a package like Ultimate Live, or if you use a package like Global Traffic or anything else, mate, that creates world schedules and injects hundreds of AI craft into your sim. And even though you put your sliders down to reduce the amount, it still takes a hell of a load of processing power away from your simulator to put all that traffic in, when you could have the exact same thing with no FPS cost at all. Using this does not cause me any FPS hit whatsoever. Okay, I can put like 30 aircraft flying around the airport and it would not affect my sim one bit. That's why I prefer this over the AIG one, because again, that's also an automated thing where it just injects the traffic in based on your models. I still use FLAI as a model set, but I also use my planes that are installed into my sim as well. So I can see a PMDG 747 tearing through an airport and it doesn't cost me any frames. It's a really, really good thing. I just literally, I mean, you can find the schedules as well, but you literally just take the flight plan that you create here and you drop it in and you'll get an actual thingy file, BGL file, and then you take that BGL file and you put it in your sim, and that's it. It's so simple. It's so easy. And it works for Microsoft as well, the 2020. The immersion of the airport is cool. No, I can't take stutters, mate. I can't. I have to have 30 rock solid frames at all times. I can't take stutters. I really do hate it. Do you know what? Oh, by the way, guys, right, here's a classic one. We've been sat here like schmucks waiting for this, thinking, mate, this is taking ages to load. By the way, guys, if you ever add in something, just check. Look, it's waiting for me to authorize the DCD Concorde. That's hidden behind that splash screen. I didn't even notice. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes if it takes ages to load or you feel it's not loading, take your mouse and hover it over the taskbar where the icon sits, and if there's a pop-up, it means that the sim is waiting for you to authorize something. That has got me so many times, honestly. You might think, oh, my sim's not loading, but in actual fact it is. It's waiting for you to, you know, do something. Stutter drive me absolutely insane. Oh, mate, I hate stutters. Absolutely hate. Who wants to fly a slideshow? I mean, you can't, can you? If you've got stutters in your sim and you're with your controller, you can overcompensate so easily and crash your plane. You know, and if there's a stutter, there's a reason why it's stuttering, I find. I really think, you know, stutters are no good, and you should find out why it's stuttering and get rid of it, because it shouldn't be stuttering. Every time we start our sim, we have to pray to the flight simulator gods that it's not going to crash or burn us. To be fair, you would have thought with the additions of the new tech and P3D, they would concentrate on the core improvements first. That way, you'll be able to take the extras they bring to the table. What do you feel, Ben, they need to work on, mate? X-Plane 11 is free of stutters. You're right, Shinawar. How's it going? Stability, yeah? Well, I mean, to be honest, I feel what Lockheed Martin should do is get rid of the 15-year-old core engine they've got in P3D, you know, that's from FSX, and rewrite it themselves and let's have a proper one. Do you know what I mean? Because it's 15-year-old technology, and Windows doesn't buy the bullshit of it being a 64-bit program. Have you ever looked inside your task manager when it's loading? Well, when it loads up, actually it might say in. Hang on, wait for it. Wait. It might say it now because it's loaded. Hang on. (32-bit). Oh no, hang on. That's bloody sim. That's owed. P3D. Like I've seen it, and it says 32-bit on it when it's loaded. Like it's a 32-bit program wrapped in a 64-bit shell. Basically. It's not like a true 64-bit program, by the way, guys. It's still an old, you know, it's an old one at heart, really, is what it is, you know. Anyway, where's this Concorde, man? Concorde, there it is, British Airways. Just dragged and dropped that in through XML, I have, and it flies exactly like the real thing, like it will do as if it was installed. MFS ain't a sim, it's a game. No, Ben, it is a simulator, right? It's a simulator, Ben. Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's great at simulating what a flight simulator should be, isn't it? It's a great simulator. That's exactly what the Microsoft Sim is. It's simulating a flight simulator. P3D is built upon the Sim core. Yeah, I mean, the Sim core needs to be replaced. The Sim core is just complete, you know, old. Honestly, it's a Liberace, you know, hanging around with a 16-year-old boy is what it is. It needs to be updated. They need to rebuild it themselves. Do you know what? I've never loaded this bloody thing up. Ever. Maybe merging aspects of the old core and P3D in the core. And imagine that. Imagine that. Although, to be fair, even Microsoft Flight Sim has core FSX code in it, you know? I totally agree. I flew over VFR for a week, then reinstalled P3D. Guys, how many people went to Microsoft and left? I know 2 people who sold all their P3D shit. And I bet they're kicking themselves now, man. Honestly. Well, that's it. If PMDG and FS Labs aren't even going in, then what does that say, man? Lockheed Martin have money. They ain't going anywhere. Well, exactly. I trust the American industrial complex a lot more than a business. But anyway. So XMLs are a real good, handy way, I think, to be able to, like, I've got this Concorde in, fully functional, but if there's something wrong with it, I don't have to go and uninstall it. I can just delete this file out of here, and it no longer sits within my simulator, and I can keep my simulator as close to default as possible. Followed your 5.1 FPS advice, 33 rock solid. Glad to hear it, John, mate. Glad to hear it. What do we want? Re-prepared. When do we want it? About 2 years ago. Right. Yeah, they could call it re-prepared, couldn't they? Or be prepared. From the makers. MFS must be great for VFR flyers, but for airliners, yeah, it's total pants, in it. Total pants. I mean, to be honest, I haven't opened my Microsoft Flight Simulator in like a month. I think, like, since I've been living here, I've not looked into it at all. Like, honestly, P3D all the way, me. Like, I love P3D. P3D 5.1 is even better than 5.0, and if anybody tries to say it's rubbish, I want to have them. Right? True Sky is amazing now, and guys, by the way, like I said the other day, if you don't have a 4K HDR TV, right, then you need to untick enable HDR lighting to get an accurate brightness level in your sim. And if you don't want to disable True Sky, you don't have to. Just edit the CFG file to disable HDR. Obviously, I've got HDR in my monitor, so I have it enabled. But if you don't have, if you're using a 1080p monitor, disable HDR lighting. You want a refund on Microsoft, mate? Well, no, I wouldn't want to refund the Microsoft Flight Sim. I do think it is good. I do think it's got value, just not right now. It's got value in the future. That's what I feel. I do like it. It's great to fly around with your mates, isn't it? Like, whoever's got Microsoft Flight Sim, man, we're all going to have to go for a group flight one day in like the Grand Caravan or a GA plane and just go explore low flying. You know, it's really quite fun with your friends, you know, but so is Grand Theft Auto, you know, online. That's it, exactly. That's it, Philip. Turn HDR 0 to 0, from 1 to 0. You want to... Guys, I did try and I did a video about the Microsoft Sim last year, and I did try and say to people, and I got so much hate for it. I had to turn the comments off on the video. I think I've re-enabled the comments now because I don't want to mute people's voice, but man, everybody hated me for what I said about the Microsoft Flight Sim. I mean, it is what it is, like, you know what I mean? I haven't got any friends. Phil, I take offense to that, mate. Mate, you say you haven't got any friends? What am I, a nobody? HDR 0. Does that deactivate HDR and keeps EA on? Yes, it does. If you turn that to 0, you still get to use True Sky. Dudes, my True Sky, honestly. Bloody loving it. Mate, let's go for another flight. Except this time, let's have a look at the clouds. I want to take this puppy to the air. I've never tried the Concorde, ever. Except for FSX 2000. That was the last time I flew a Concorde. FSX 2000? Flight Simulator 2000, sorry. That was the last time I flew a Concorde. Man, I'm going to have it running on the active runway because I don't know how you fly it. I don't know how you set it up, mate. You very much agree MFS is good but not good enough. Not yet, it isn't. Not yet. I do hope it improves. It has got great visuals, and I will admit the visuals can be at some points better than prepared, but as a whole, I prefer my prepared, especially when I use mega scenery. It just looks so realistic. Like, oh, everything looks so realistic. You know, if you have a sim that you're happy with, honestly, just like, it looks so realistic. You know what I mean? It just looks like real life. I feel like, where's those images? Where is it? I mean, honestly, that one there just looks like a real plane picture to me. That's just somebody at the airports took that. You know what I mean? But I did a flight before in the PMDG, and honestly, it looked so real when I was looking outside. I was like stunned. I was like, whoa, that just looks like a just plain video. Do you know what I mean? How do you use Active Sky Clouds? Mine looks trapped compared to yours. I don't know if it's because of the 4K, because you guys aren't seeing 4K. You guys are only seeing 1080p. You know, my OBS downscales the 4K image to 1080p, and that's what you guys see. So, yeah, you don't get to see all the fidelity I do. That's probably why I'm bloody, you know, knocking one off here about it. But it's, you should still get a good idea of what it looks like. But yeah, I use Active Sky Cloud Arts. I don't use Active Sky for any weather generation, so it didn't bother me that it didn't work when 5.1 first came out, because I use Skyforce for my weather generation. I find it's good enough. Like, I don't need super accurate weather. I just need some weather system that's, you know, in my sim. I'm more about the plane. I'm more about learning how to fly a 737 rather than eye candy outside. The eye candy, though, is a bonus because it is eye candy. You know what I mean? Do you use the square blockiness? No, I don't. I don't get that either. I don't know if it's my settings in the CFG or the way I use it, but I don't. I mean, you can see here. There's no, if we zoom in, this is 5.1, guys, this picture. There's no, an Active Sky is active, and there's no, I mean, apart from me zooming in right now, there's none of that weirdness that everybody experiences. As you can see, it's all, trees look fine. I mean, this looks pixelated to hell because I've zoomed into it, but apart from that, it's fine. Like, everything just looks fine. Obviously, I'm not exempt from the same issue as everybody else with the buildings. Some buildings don't interact with True Sky, and that's the developers need to sort that out. It's because of the way they've made their products, you know. But yeah, I absolutely love my skies. I'm totally happy. I hope they don't change it, to be honest. I don't want my skies suddenly changing, you know what I mean? Gotta go to work now, mate. If you're still on when I'm back, I will tune back in. Phil, I'll be finishing up in half an hour, I will. It'll be the end in half an hour. I was kind of hoping that people would have more issues with their scenery library, because there's only so much you can talk about it. You know, it's I need to hear people's issues. Look at that. Honestly. Gorgeous. That's going to take forever to load. Yeah, I do use XMLs, and I do like them, but there is a danger in using them. If you don't use them correctly, you can actually nuke your entire simulator. And the reason I use them as opposed to having everything in my scenery library is because if I'm testing something, I can just put it in. If I don't like it, take it out, and my sim continues. Whereas if I put it in and it breaks my sim, I've got to reinstall everything to fix it. Whereas if it breaks my sim when it's in there and I take it out, my sim is back to the way it was before. It doesn't permanently affect my sim. Whereas if you install it into your scenery library and it breaks, it can destroy your scenery library. Excuse me. It can destroy your scenery library CFG file. Cool. And that's the difference between using it and not using it. I've got a friend, actually. Could be watching, I don't know. And he has a lot of problems with his sim. And I think it might be down to his... Excuse me, man. What's going on here? I got the hiccups, guys. Hang on. Anyway, as I was saying, it could be down to his scenery library that's broken and he doesn't even realize it. A broken scenery library can still load a simulator, and you won't know it's broken until you try and utilize an add-on that really relies on that scenery library, and it won't work properly. And you're like, well, hang on, how come that's not showing properly? And it's then the problems start coming up. Yeah. So I'm just going to take this to the air, this Concorde, real quick, and then that'll be it. Unless anybody's got any issues and problems that I can answer. Point is, when I started P3D, I was overwhelmed by all the additional programs that run and the sceneries and add-ons installed all over the place. See, Christian, you're lucky in X-Plane in the fact that X-Plane are, like Microsoft have done, have got this internal structure for all their add-ons. So yeah, it's like P3D, we run all of our add-ons as an exterior program, whereas with X-Plane, it all comes under the hood of X-Plane, and it's all from within. It's two different ways to do it, but I think it's mainly because the technology that powers P3D is way older. You know what I mean? Than the technology that powers X-Plane. I mean, X-Plane is in the process of being rewritten for the future with the Vulkan. Whereas P3D, I mean, I think P3D are still in the process of moving forward as well, but they're trapped by this old 15-year-old code behind them that they can't get away from unless they rewrite everything. And the day they do that, I think P3D will really excel and be a lot more flexible. But until then, we're kind of trapped. So, yeah, we've got loads of add-ons that run exterior to the program, which I believe is a good thing, to be honest. Because if one of these programs, like, for instance, this Ultimate Crew program I use, just for some reason has stopped working with my audio. Like, I don't know why, but I can't get a noise out of that at all. And it's connected, it works, but for some reason, it ain't working. And if this was in my sim, it could probably prevent my simulator from running. But because it's an exterior program, then I just shut it down and I carry on, and that's that, you know. Whereas I don't know how X-Plane works. If one add-on breaks, can the whole, you know, simulator have problems starting up? I don't know. I don't know how it works. I've never experienced X-Plane fully, you know. Because I've never needed to. I've never needed a second simulator either. Like, I probably wouldn't even have the space for a second simulator, even if I wanted it. You know? But I suppose it can be overwhelming if you're so used to one thing. Like, let's say a gamer. This is a classic example. When Microsoft launched it within the Xbox Game Pass, and it introduced the flight simulation community to a lot more people, to a lot more gamers who are so used to playing their games and using their PC in a gaming way. Flight simulation doesn't do that. In a flight simulator, you cannot do that. Oh, I need to set up my my views here. Dudes, I ain't got any views. Can I use an old Concorde? Have I got an old Concorde in here? And I got any views set up? And I haven't got anything, so dudes, I'm gonna have to set up a bloody viewpoint here. What the hell? I've never loaded this puppy up ever. And I forgot to disable yeah, I know, GSX, sorry mate, my bad. I don't know why I'm tapping my keyboard like I can do something. There we go. Right, I've got to set up cameras, guys. Hang on, give me 2 secs. Let's have one coming in like that behind the engines. Boom. There's one. We'll call that the spot. And you can have number 7. I need one for the ground. So like we're walking up to it and we go, oh, Concorde. Beautiful. I mean, there we go. So that's the ground level. Ground always gets 0, ground 0. Easy to remember. And then I'll set up the other ones later. Let's go back in the cockpit, yep. So that's got to say 1. Right, so we've got to have a realistic cockpit here, like as if I'm really sitting in this cockpit. So let's get the height right. So my head sits like that, I guess. I think. And then looks like we're sat back in our seat like that. There. So that's what a pilot would see in a Concorde. Fair enough. Looks a bit big, to be honest. That'll do for me for now. I'll sort the rest out later. Let's get this puppy in the air. I'm really interested in seeing this bloody move. We'll have to Control E for the engines. Do a little cheat. Flaps. Where's the flaps? That's not the flaps, that's the bloody nose. Shit. Oh, we're moving. We're moving, man. Hang on. Flaps. I said flaps, mate. There we go. So the nose is tied directly to the flaps. Is that it? I don't know. I don't know how you fly this thing. How come we're not moving, man? Let's get the engines going, man. We're like rolling la-di-da down this runway. Pedal to the metal, mate. Isn't it? Mate, am I going that fast? I just don't even know we're moving that fast. How do you fly the Concorde, mate? Does the Concorde have flaps? I don't know. I don't know. I'm controlling E and nothing's happening. I don't know how you fly this thing, to be honest. I need to learn first. I was kind of hoping that this would just be automatically started. We're not going to get in the air like this, are we? Mate, we're just lolly-dying down the runway. Auto throttle, mate. Give it some. Anybody flown? Better try a Cessna. Mate, this ain't your 737, is it? Throttle? Something wrong here? Mate, it's going to take us 30 days to get to New York, let alone 3 hours. Control E. That's... Do you know what? Forget it. Forget it. Abort. What the hell happened there? Oh, I've just nuked myself. I'm going to have to reinstall P3D now. Lot of rubbish. Oh shit. Yeah, that's going. Shall we slow this puppy down a bit? That's better, isn't it? This thing ain't even configured for takeoff. Do you know what? I think there's something wrong with my sim here. I should get these stutters like this. Where's the runway gone? There it is. What's the frame rate doing? Do you know what? I've got to do some testing here because it shouldn't be this bad with the jitters. Something's going on here. I think my PC's got a cold. Anyway. Any other questions about the scenery or XML? I'd have to sort this out in a second. Because if not, then I'm going to have to call it because... oh, there it goes. It might have sorted itself out now, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's like... Right, well, thank you for watching. I mean, if there is anything else that you want to ask me about scenery, library, or XMLs, or if you feel like I've been unclear about anything, then, you know, jump into my Discord, let me know. I'm happy to go through a one-to-one with anybody who needs it, you know. The scenery library is a super important piece in P3D. And if it's broken, it can crash the sim. You can experience crash to desktops quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like I've done a great job of explaining it in detail, but maybe I have, and I'm just, you know, underestimating or something. But it is a really good like if you use it correctly, it is very good. If you don't use it correctly, you're going to get a lot of problems, and that's probably where a lot of people who get problems with their like airports or their sceneries, I think it stems from a broken scenery config. You know, having a good like if you use Lorby and it works, great. I personally don't. I've never used it, and I would never want to, because I use Orbex and that works, and I feel too many chefs in the kitchen spoil the broth, you know. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Tomorrow we're doing a black marble special. I'm going to go through every inch of black marble. I'm going to cover it like a beautiful cake, and we're going to gobble it up. I'm going to show you how you can prep your PC and your flight sim to install black marble correctly with your other add-ons, and how you can utilize it to stream your flight sim performance so you can get 30 FPS in your sim at all times as well. And we're not going to touch on how you create the lights, like, because I've done that in another live stream and I don't want to repeat myself, but we're going to fly around Los Angeles, okay, with full night lighting, okay, and it's going to be amazing. So join me, and I shall see everybody tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Happy flights, guys, and I hope there's no issues moving forward, okay? Take care.